Welcome back here, Drew and Brandon talking sports on a Thursday afternoon. Brandon, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
Pretty good. That's Des Bryant, I'm assuming?
CD Lamb.
CD Lamb? Okay.
Des Bryant one doesn't fit anymore, so.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Well, anyways, we're here with a mock draft. This is our second mock draft. A little bit of change of plans with mock drafts just because this draft it's a cool draft. It's not one that I think you could mock 1,000 times and have like completely different mocks, whereas last year's, I think the more quarterback heavy drafts, I think you can mock more heavily. But anyways, we'll just go with the mock draft. Mock draft 2.0 drafts in a week from today, right? Or something like that.
Well, yeah, 1 week, April 28th.
Cool. All right. So I guess we'll just start number one. There are trades, so feel free to, if we're mocking a trade, we're mocking a trade. So This should theoretically be close to potentially what we see in a week from now. So
yeah. Do you want me to start again?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right. So again, my draft's kind of similar to what it was the first time. A couple changes. The first pick though is the same, Aiden Hutchinson. Again, I don't really know exactly how I feel about him as a number one overall prospect, but it just seems like that's the way the draft's going to go. That he's going to be the first guy taken, even if, at least in my eyes, he's not the best guy on the board. But I still have Aiden Hutchinson going first to the Jags.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I'm trying to bounce this audio, but I think Aiden Hutchinson does go first. Again, I don't think he's going to be the best player, but if you said name one player you think that is the most likely to be a top 15 player from this draft, I would say Aiden Hutchinson, probably. Right? Like, I do like Sauce Gardner. I think Stingley could be really, really good. I think probably out of the 5 first-round receivers, if we see 5, I think 4 of them will be really good. But if you're saying I got to take one player to be like a guaranteed good to great player in the league, I would probably go Hutchinson. Do I think he's going to be the best player in this draft? Probably not. But that's what I think goes first. So,
yeah. Number 2, Lions. I was thinking about a potential trade here, but it's like what team exactly would trade up to number 2? Like, if you're trading up to number 2, like in most drafts, you're probably taking a quarterback or maybe like if there's only like one offensive lineman in like the entire first round or whatever, like it's almost just a guaranteed quarterback. That's just not the case in this draft. So I couldn't really find a trade partner for them. So I just kept them there. I took him again, same as my first one, Trayvon Walker from Georgia. I mean, he was a first round pick before, but now he's probably going to go number 2 in the actual draft. I kept him there. My first 2 picks are the same.
Yeah, so I'm going Trayvon Walker as well. I forget if I had him number 2 in my mock. I think I did. I'm going to go pull my mock up. But yeah, no matter what, I mean, I got Walker going 2 as well. I think that's probably how we see the first 2 picks go. Maybe they reverse, maybe they flip-flop. But I think Hutchinson goes 2, Hutchinson goes 1, Walker goes 2.
3 Texans. This is where my first change comes. So in my first draft, I had them taking Evan Neal. This time I just flipped to the other offensive tackle, IK Kongwu. I don't know. I just maybe, again, a lot of teams love Okongwu. Neal's always been the guy, but a lot of teams have loved him recently. So maybe the Texans, just go with him over Neal, even though Neal's kind of the more highly touted guy. But I think they go offensive tackle. Either way, if it's Neal or Okongwu, because they still have Tunsil, but he's probably not going to be on the team after next year, so it makes sense to go offensive tackle here, especially if those first 2 guys are off the board. I flipped Okongwu to number 3 in my mock draft.
I may have had this in my mock too. I need to pull it up. I don't remember where I put it, but I have Kayvon Tibbetter going 3. I have it as again, I think I talked about this in the last mock. When you have more than 3 or 4 needs, you're essentially just rebuilding or just drafting for talent. I think if you're drafting for talent, Thibodeau is arguably number 1 maybe, but a few concerns regarding motor and maybe attitude have dropped him down, maybe among some other concerns as well. But I go Kayvon Tibbetter here at 3 as like a high ceiling, maybe a slightly lower floor. But if you're drafting for talent, which I think the Texans have to be, then I think that's the play. So,
yeah. Speaking of Kayvon, though, I have him at number 4 to the Jets. Same as my first mock draft. Yeah, I think the Texans could possibly take a chance on him. Again, if you're not looking at one of those offensive linemen, he'd probably. I mean, I guess he could slip past 4. I'd kind of be surprised, but I guess there is potential for that to happen. But I have him going to the Jets again. I think that'd be a great pick for them. Again, the character issues, the effort, the hustle, that's problems, but. I think you take the talent in this situation. It's not like he's off the field bad, which at least I don't know that. I don't think he is, so that's a good thing. At least it's on the field bad that can be fixed. Off the field is obviously a different situation, so I have Kayvon going to the Jets at number 4.
Yeah, so let me pull my mock draft back up. But I'm trying to find my other one. But I think the Jets are in a pretty similar spot. Maybe slightly better off than the Texans, but I think they draft talent. I'm not saying I think this is going to happen, or sorry, I'm not saying I would do this, but I think this might happen, and I think they might fall into the same trap they fell into probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I think they're going to take Kyle Hamilton.
That'd be tough to do.
Now,
that
would I like the pick? Probably not, but I think it's the same principle as last time, where it's like this guy is just. He's a top 5 best player in my opinion in the draft. We've seen the safety position not be as impactful, but he's 6'4", 220. He could maybe even play a little bit of linebacker at that stature. And is he like a early 2000s style linebacker? No, but linebackers nowadays they're essentially just athletic freaks, right? Super fast, super as big as possible, as lean as possible, able to get from west to east on the field. They're not you're not just plugging gaps with linebackers anymore like you were in 2003. So I think there is a way this trade works out, or this draft pick works out. So I'll go with it. I don't know if it's what I do, but I think it's going to happen. So
you have the Jets taking.
I have the Jets taking Kyle Hamilton. Wow, that's a reach from. I think last time I had him at 11. Now I have him at 4.
Yeah. That's what happens though on draft day. Guys just go earlier than you expect, and guys drop. So there will be a couple. I think Kyle Hamilton's a good choice for someone who may go earlier. Again, if he wasn't a safety, he'd for sure be a top 5 pick, but he still could be. It's still potential there. Like you said, he's 6'4", 220, so he does have that build of the present-day linebacker, so it's potential. Number 5, though, Giants. So again, this is where I had Congo going 3. In this draft, I have Evan Neal going 5 to the Giants. In this one, again, the Giants are going to go offensive lineman. One of those 2 guys will be there at 5. There's no doubt about that. So whichever one they get, they're going to be happy with. But I have them taking Evan Neal. Again, either one you couldn't be happier taking. It's an offensive tackle. And again, if it's Neal, it's one of the highly touted ones recently. And then the Congo is a guy who's risen up draft boards. So.
Yeah, I literally, when I was doing this mock, I flipped the coin as to who the Giants were going to take, because I think it could be either one.
Yeah.
However, I think probably the one that makes a little bit more sense, maybe Evan Neal, so I'll go Evan Neal as well as it is. Yeah, I think Evan Neal is maybe a little bit more of a safer bet, and I don't think the Giants should be taking too many risks, but I don't think either are a risk. I just think if you told me one's the 7th best tackle and the other one's out of the league in 7 years, I'd probably go Evan Neal as the one who's the 7th best tackle in the league, and Aquanu or whatever.
Aquanu.
as the one that's out of the league in 7 years. So.
All right. So same there at 5, 6. So this is my first trade. Well, actually my only trade, but I don't know if this would be the team that would trade up to this spot, but I think the team that is at number 6, the Panthers, we talked about the last time we did the mock draft. They want to trade out of this pick. There's no reason for them to take anyone here. Like, you're not going to get, unless one of the top defensive ends is there, maybe if one of those 2 offensive linemen's there, maybe, but if none of those guys are there, there's really no reason to stay here at 6 and draft someone when you could easily trade back a couple picks, get a couple mid-rounder picks as well. But I had them trading with Seattle. And I had Seattle moving up to 6 from 9. Again, I just swapped first-round picks. I didn't really think about the other picks. But I had Seattle taking Malik Willis. Again, they could probably get him at 9 if they really wanted to, but I kind of wanted to throw a trade in there. I for sure wanted Carolina moving down because, again, I think that will happen in real life. So, again, Malik Willis would probably be there at 9, but I have Seattle taking him at 6. They need a quarterback. even though I don't love him, I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. So I guess it makes sense. Also, the Panthers GM came from Seattle, so maybe that could, if the trade did happen, I guess it would kind of make sense. But I have Malik Willis going 6 to Seattle in a trade.
Yeah, so I have the Panthers here. I have them passing on a quarterback entirely. It's been that's been the first legit position people have thought that a quarterback can actually go barring trades, which even not barring trades, I don't think people are expecting a quarterback to go above 6. But I have them going Sauce Gardner. They had Gilmore. Gilmore's obviously with Indy now. Again, I think this is kind of a team where it's like you're kind of drafting best player. Now, I think you need a quarterback for sure, and I think they will take one at some point in the draft. Now, if that's in the first round or third round, I don't know, but I'll go Sauce Gardner here.
So they'll go back-to-back corners 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
All right, I mean, Jason Horn, I mean, he was injured all last year, so I guess we don't really know how he was last year, but, I mean, that's not the worst thing to get 2 corners.
I mean, name the last team to have 2 top 10 corners that wasn't a playoff. I mean, I'm not saying it's the only thing that matters. I'm just saying name the last team that has 2 legit first-round corners that pan out, assuming they pan out, that wasn't a legit Super Bowl contender. I mean,
yeah, I can't even think of a team that drafted corners like that. The only team as soon as you said that, the first thing that came to mind, and it wasn't that they drafted these guys or they just drafted them and then they turned into stud corners, but it was the Broncos with Aqib Talib and Chris Harris.
Yeah,
that was kind of the last team I remember. It's 2 stud corners, just on the same team. Obviously, they were a playoff team. That's not what you were saying, but yeah, I mean, if you have 2 stud corners, you're most likely going to make the playoffs, just because. As long as your the rest of the team isn't garbage, but it helps a lot to have 2 stud corners like that.
I mean, yeah, they essentially won the Super Bowl in 2015 because of their defense. Obviously, Von Miller was probably the best player on that team, but Talib and Harris were humongous parts of that defense, being one of the, if not the best defense of all time. I'm not saying the best defense of all time. I'm saying they're one of the best defense of all time. If they're not one of them, then they are the number one. Anyways, so yeah, I think that could pan out. So
yeah. At 7, like you said, you had Sauce going at 6. I have him going at 7 to the Giants. So moving up a couple spots from my mock 1, I am going 10 to the Jets. So I'm going 7 to the Giants here. Again, if the Giants were to get Evan Neal and Sauce Gardner, you couldn't be happier about that. I mean, they still have James Bradbury. He had a really good year 2 years ago. Wasn't that good last year. This is the top corner on the board. It kind of makes sense. Your defense is bad anyways. To get a stud corner like that on a rookie deal, that's exactly what you want, like we were just saying. So yeah, I'm going 7 to the Giants. I think that, I mean, as a Cowboys fan, I wouldn't love that, but I think that'd be a great pick if you were a Giants fan.
I've got the Giants going offense here. Again, I think they want to make sure Jones isn't the guy. And I think down on the inside, they really know, but I think they're almost kind of coping. I think they're kind of just please tell me that it's just the rest of the offense and not Jones that has led to this just not good offense for the past however many years. So I think they're going to go Garrett Wilson. Now, I could realistically see them going with any wide receiver, Jameson, Drake London. Not that I would take Drake London at 7 or at all in the first round, but I could literally see them going with any of the 5 first-round receivers. I don't know that there's objectively a best one, but I think Wilson's been, for the most part, number 1 or number 2 in most mocks. So I think they go offense, though. That's really what I think they go, a lineman and a receiver.
Yeah. So that was 7 Giants, 8 Falcons. I kept it the same in my first, Kyle Hamilton. Like I said, you hadn't gone earlier. I maybe could see that, but I feel like 8's a good spot for him. Falcons, I mean, obviously for the Falcons, you'd probably, they'd maybe be looking to trade out of this pick potentially, or you'd like to go receiver. Maybe it's a little too early for receiver. That's why you trade back. But if they were to stay here, I think they'd probably go Kyle Hamilton. Like you said, that he's a top 5 talent in the draft. So to get a top 5 talent at number 8, yeah, it's never a bad thing. So I think that'd be a good pick if they were to stay there and they were to take Kyle Hamilton at 8.
Kyle Hamilton almost reminds me of Micah Parsons from last year's draft. I mean, obviously in hindsight this is the case, but he probably should have gone much higher than 10, and he didn't because there was just so many offensive pieces. Yeah. It's kind of similar in the way that people really for some reason don't want to take Kyle Hamilton, but barring kicker, punter, some really useless positions, not useless, but you get what I'm saying. I think you just draft player over position just because Like, I'm sorry, unless, how many teams in the top 10 are actually competing for a legit Super Bowl next year? Right now, I could say with confidence, 0.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing to take Kyle Hamilton high. Anyways, I'm at 8 now. I have the Falcons going Kenny Pickett. Now, I wanted to go Willis here. Willis is from Georgia, so it would make sense, but for some reason I'm just in the mood to go pick. I think it's going to be similar to, remember when Rodgers wanted to go to San Fran super badly? He obviously they go with Alex Smith, and then Rodgers makes them regret it. I'm not saying Willis is going to make them regret going Kenny Pickett. I think they go Kenny Pickett. I think they go quarterback. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Willis. Wouldn't be shocked if it was Pickett. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't go quarterback, but they need a quarterback at some point, right? You're not just going to – Marcus Mariota is just not your future. I'm sorry, but he's not. So
I see, my philosophy on this is, if you're in a draft that's not that good quarterback-wise, do you just take a guy just because it's a quarterback and you just take him? I know. And this draft's not a good quarterback draft. Now, look, in a couple years after the guys are all drafted, maybe one guy's a good player, maybe he's a Pro Bowl or whatever, but – the odds of any of these guys becoming truly great quarterbacks is very low. I just never that'd be the worst scenario to be in as a GM or of a team. You need a quarterback, but it's a bad quarterback draft. But it's we have a top pick. Do we take a quarterback here? Do we not? If we don't, obviously next year's there's 2 studs in the draft already, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. Do you wait for that? I'm always in the mood of waiting for the actual highly touted guys. Now, look, if they have Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis highly touted on their draft board, then take them. But I find that very hard, and I don't really believe that if they do. It's just a tough situation to be in. If there's a quarterback right there and you don't take him, it's well, he's really not that good, but everyone's saying to take quarterback because he's a quarterback. I don't know. I would hate to be in that situation as a GM.
I agree. I wouldn't like to be in it either. To me, I'm not taking either of these quarterbacks at all, really.
Yeah.
Assuming they go in a realistic position, I'm not taking them at 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever, or really in the first round probably. Seahawks number 9. Did you mock a Seahawks pick?
Seahawks, yeah. So I had them trading. So this is the Panthers pick for me, but it's the same guy I actually had. It's Charles Cross, offensive lineman from Mississippi State. Again, I just maybe they could have went, corner again. There's obviously Stingley still on the board. Could have went receiver too. I think they have pretty good receivers, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. But I think when Charles Cross fix up some offensive line, so when you do get your quarterback, again, it makes it easier. So I'd Cross going 9 to the Panthers.
Okay. Yeah. So I do have the Seahawks here taking a receiver. I have them taking a receiver that I'm not a fan of, and frankly, I don't know he's going to go this high, but I have him taking Drake London at number 9. I'll answer questions after pick number 10, or I'll give an explanation on it after pick number 10.
Okay. I guess we'll move to pick number 10. So Jets number 10. I have them taking Derek Stingley. So again, I had Sauce Gardner here in the first one. I have Derek Stingley here. As long as you get one of those guys, I think Sauce would probably be gone by 10, so Stingley is a really good option. I think he probably still would be there at 10 unless there's another trade, but you can't be mad at getting Stingley if you miss out on Sauce. Obviously you'd like to have the better guy, but Stingley's a really good prospect. I think he'll be pretty good in the NFL. He's a little bit small, but you need a corner, and I think for a Jets team that needs a corner, I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, so I may have done this in a little bit of backwards order, but anyways, I'm gonna say the trade. This is my one trade. I have the Jets trading this pick as well as other picks. I don't want to get too into specifics. We'll just say probably another first and something else to Seattle for DK Metcalf, maybe some cash, or maybe some other veteran starter or something. So the Seahawks make back-to-back picks here, and they're going to go Jordan Davis, the defensive lineman from Georgia. Now, I think, again, this is kind of like a player over position type of thing, just because I'm not sure how badly they need a 6'6", humongous guy, but he's a guy that's risen in draft boards solely because of his just athletic freakiness. And I think that's something Seattle looks at and says, okay, this guy played in Georgia. This guy's also an athletic freak. Did he have the production of Georgia to warrant being a number 9? I don't know, but barring them talking to somebody from Georgia and them telling them this guy should not go at number 9, it seems like a home run pick. So, and I don't have a source close to Georgia, obviously. So,
Yeah.
I'm going Jordan Davis at 10.
Yeah.
Now, do I like that pick? Do I like that trade for the Jets? No, I would never trade even one first-round pick for DK Metcalf. Well, number 10 pick, I should say. I wouldn't even trade that, and I think they'd have to trade more than 10 to get Metcalf. So I don't like it at all. But that's what I'm mocking, because the Jets have reached out for receivers a lot. So
I actually don't even know if they'd have. I think they'd have to give up less than 10, to be honest.
I don't think the Seahawks would do it for less than 10, though.
Well, maybe the Seahawks wouldn't do it, but I think like a market. And again, I guess we'll bring it up at the end of the mock draft. But obviously, there's another receiver who requested a trade from his team that's better than DK Metcalf.
Arguably, yeah. I mean, I would
say, I would say for sure. I think like his market is honestly like a late, like a first rounder, not a top.
But I think there are concerns as to why. If injury wasn't a concern to me, then I think injury and like longevity, I think that he would be getting more than a first round pick. But
potentially,
I think that's the big concerns if I'm a GM. Now, I'm not saying I would agree with those concerns or whatever. To me, those are the concerns. But
yeah, but we'll talk about that after the draft's over, because that's obviously the biggest news in the last week or so. But last couple of days. But number 11. I've Washington taking Garrett Wilson. They need another receiver. Next to Terry McLaurin. Again, 2 guys who went to Ohio State. That seems to be working when you can put 2 guys who went to the same college, whether it's receiver, or receiver quarterback on the same team. It just seems to work out. So I don't think that's a bad thing. Garrett Wilson's probably the best, wide receiver prospect in this draft. Maybe 11's maybe a little high. Maybe it's not. I'm not really sure. But, the receivers will start going past 10. Probably from 10 to 22. That's when the receivers will go. So I have Washington taking him at 11. Again, they need receivers. If there was a corner on the board, I think they'd probably take corner. But I think they'd be happy with Wilson at 11.
Yeah, so I have them taking Jameson Williams. Now, he's a guy that maybe doesn't – I don't know. Maybe the thing with this draft is, honestly, I could see Jameson Williams going at like 10. I could see him going at like 23. But I have them taking Williams. I think that McLaurin, while he's really good, I don't know that he's enough to be the whole offense. He's not. So They need more. I think this guy could be a guy that is either a 1A, 1B type situation, or maybe he's just better, or maybe he's a number 2. And I think as long as he can at least be a really, really elite number 2 wide receiver to McLaurin, I think that's what you're hoping for. Anything less than that's probably disappointment. So
yeah, you need him to be comparable to McLaurin or even better, to be honest. I really like McLaurin too, but again, maybe the inconsistent quarterback play has kind of hindered his production, even though he still is one of the more productive guys. But
who you the age-old question, McLaurin or Metcalf?
I mean, it's tough. It's just like we've never seen McLaurin with the top, like a better quarterback. I kind of like McLaurin better. Maybe it's just I just see him play more. Maybe that has to do with it too. But I think McLaurin's really good. If he had Russell Wilson, I think he'd probably be putting up similar stats to DK Metcalf. No, he basically is. So.
I agree. I'm not a DK guy really.
I'm not really a DK guy either.
I don't know. I mean, who the people that are? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you if you're a DK Metcalf guy. This may not be the podcast for you, but if you're watching and you're not a DK Metcalf and you just want to watch this podcast, good, because I want you to watch. So, anyways, number 12, Vikings.
12 Vikings again. So same as first. I'm taking Jordan Davis. I'm not really sure where the Vikings are gonna go in this draft, to be honest. I think defense for sure, but maybe offensive line if one of those guys is there. But I actually had them taking Jordan Davis. I couldn't really find someone else for them to take at 12.
Yeah, so to me, I had Sauce Gardner going 5, 6.
You had
4, 6?
6 to the Panthers.
Yeah, 6. So I had Sauce going 6. I think Minnesota looks and says, wow, Sauce at 6 and Stingley at 12. I think that's good value considering Gardner went at 6. I'll take Stingley at 12. He's also from LSU, so he gets to learn from Pat Pete, who also went to LSU. Now, Pat Pete's washed, but I think that's also kind of the reason why you're taking Derek Stingley is, you need a guy. Xavier Rhodes was a guy for a bit, obviously not a guy anymore. I think this is a good value pick at 12. And now it's a high ceiling, low floor, but it has potential to be a home run. So,
yeah, I think that'd be a good pick if he was still there at 12. That'd be a really good pick if he was there at 12. 13 Texans. I have them taking a guy who I had going 7th in my first mock draft, Jermaine Johnson. I have him dropping down. This is probably where he's most likely to end up. Like, I think 7 was a little too high when I put him there, but yeah, I think obviously they're going offensive line. They're going at Kongu and mine, and then they'd be going Jermaine Johnson at 13. So I think you're getting two of the more important positions in the NFL in offensive line and defensive end. So I think they'd be happy with that. I don't know how good Jermaine Johnson really is, but I think at 13 that's solid value for him. If there's no corner on the board, then I think that's a good pick at taking Johnson at 13.
I've got a bit of maybe an odd choice here, but I'm going Jermaine Johnson. I mean, it's odd because do you remember going at 3? I went with Kayvon Tibbetter.
Yeah, Kayvon, yeah.
So is this going to happen in the real draft? I don't know, but just say both of them work out. I mean, you're looking at an elite pass rushing duo. And again, maybe similar to the corners, maybe this is just because it doesn't happen very often because it's very hard to pull off with really any position, but pretty much every elite pass rushing duo finds a way to make the playoffs. The last one I can think of is, there's a lot, right? There's really just a lot. Last year, Miller and Donald. What were the teams before that? The team, San Francisco with Bosa and really that whole defensive front. Yeah. The Chargers, I know they never made a Super Bowl, but they had Bosa and Ingram for a bit. Now they've got Bosa and Mack. So I think they say, okay, we've seen a lot of these pass rushing duos, but we also just really like the value with these guys. We love the value at Kayvon at 3, and we love the value with Jermaine Johnson at 13. And they act on that, and they see where that gets them. Because again, you're not even competing for third place. Okay, maybe you're competing for third place in your division. That's what I'll give you. You're not competing for anything other than that as the Texans. So you've got time to get your value picks in.
Yeah, it's a good philosophy for teams that really aren't going to compete. Like, you might as well just get all the talent you can. Like, you don't got to worry about position right now. Just get the talent and then see where it takes you. But 14 Ravens. So again, in my first mock draft, I had them taking Garrett Wilson here. I had them taking Chris Olave, so obviously the other Ohio State receiver. They need a receiver. Sammy Watkins left. It's just Hollywood Brown basically and Mark Andrews. Like, you need a receiver there. I'd be totally surprised if they don't take receiver. It's just like you basically have one. Again, they're gonna get the running backs back. They're gonna get the guys on the defense back that were all injured last year. Like, they'll get everyone healthy. So the one position that wasn't injured last year, it was just bad, was receiver. So it would be 1,000% surprise if they didn't take receiver here. So again, I've been taking Chris Olave.
I have them going receiver as well. I have them going Treylon Burks though. I think this is a team that has struggled to really draft receivers. And to me, Chris Olave just doesn't seem like a pick they're going to go with. So I'm going with Treylon Burks, and we'll see where that gets them. So
15 Eagles, same pick for me as first one, Trent McDuffie. Again, tried to come up with a different change or something, but I think corner is still the pick for them here. They still need help in the secondary. Again, maybe they'd go receiver. I've seen a lot of mock drafts of them taking receiver. That'd be a lot of receivers recently for them. Obviously taking Devonta Smith last year, and then whatever his name was from TCU.
Jalen Reagor?
Yeah, Jalen Reagor. So even though he's obviously not good, so, it's still 3 receivers in a row. It's kind of tough to do that, but I guess there's potential there. But again, I've been taking Trent McDuffie from Washington.
Yeah, I wasn't really too sure who to go here as well. I debated receiver. I just don't think it's a good look for them to take receiver in 3 straight years.
Yeah, it's tough.
So I have them going Andrew Booth. Essentially, not Trent McDuffie, but another corner. So we'll see.
16, last pick, just at the top 16, then we'll each do our own team. Saints, I have them taking Trevor Penning, offensive lineman. Now, I know he's kind of raw, kind of has a lot of questions about him, but they obviously lost Teron Armstead to the Dolphins in free agency. They're still somewhat competitive, a little bit. They still have talent around them. So they need to replace him at offensive tackle anyways. I think it's a pick here. Again, the Saints always seem to be good at coaching and like getting the best out of their guys. So if you always look at their offensive line, everyone they've drafted recently has become a Pro Bowler or All Pro. So I like that about their team. Like there's certain teams that could do that. I feel like the Saints are one of those teams. So again, there's a lot of questions with him. He's definitely going to need to be worked out, but maybe not year 1 you see the production, but I think year 2, year 3, year 4 I think is where you see the production with him.
Yeah, so at 16, I'm going with a guy that you mocked earlier than I am, Charles Cross.
Yeah.
Essentially, I think they go line here. I agree with you. Losing Armstead is a loss for sure. They've had him for like a decade at this point. I could see him going with Penning. I could see him going with whoever, really. I also wouldn't be shocked if it was an offensive line, but I think that's the easiest thing to mock, so I'm mocking it.
Yeah. And then moving to our own team. So, again, Cowboys for me, they're picking 24th still. I've been taking Kenyon Green. Again, it was a name I said in the first one. Offensive lineman, can play tackle, can play guard. It just makes the most sense. I think that is where they are going to go. They lost a couple offensive linemen. Guys are getting older, injuries. It makes sense to take him there. And to get an offensive lineman back in the system. We're usually good at drafting offensive linemen because, like the Saints, I feel like the offensive linemen that we do draft do become pretty good. So I'd be happy with that pick. Obviously, it's not a sexy pick or anything like that, but at 24 for that value, I think it's a really good pick at 24.
Yeah, so I think the Patriots have a bunch of ways they could really go here, or at least a couple. I have them going Chris Olave. So I think it's the one receiver, or maybe not the one, but out of the main guys, he's one that I haven't said so far. I still don't know if I really have a strong opinion on which receiver I love the most. I would say I don't love London, and in general, I'm not a fan of receivers that are 6'4", go get them 50-50 ball guys.
Yeah.
At least I don't think it's a worthy gamble in the first round. If you want to take a shot on a guy like that in the 4th or 5th, I'm fine. But I'm also maybe a little bit PTSD'd out from N'Keal Harry, who's essentially just a bust at this point. He is a bust. He's been a bust for, ever since his first 5 games of rookie year. But anyways, I've been going Chris Olave. I would be excited if they took Olave because, bottom line is we need receivers. I'd love to trade for Debo. That's not going to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of, that's the end of the mock draft. So that's our second mock draft. We'll do it again, another one next week. The draft, like we said, is 1 week from today. We'll do it. It'll rather come out on Thursday or Wednesday, whatever it is. It's going to come out before then. So you'll see our mock draft 3.0. Trades, no trades, whatever you want it to be. Same thing, 16 picks, and then our own team. And we'll see what happens with the draft night. And maybe there'll be a trade from now until then, or obviously on draft night there'll probably be a trade, but nothing yet. But like you said, speaking of Debo, he has requested a trade from the Niners. It was rumored that he was going to, and then it was said they were saying there was false reports, and then he came out and said, I guess through Jeff Darlington, he said that he requested a trade. And the reasons isn't money. Again, he's contract eligible because he was a second-round pick, so he doesn't have that fifth-year option that most, if you're a first-rounder, you do. So he is available, or he has the option to have a contract extension. But that's not the reason why he wants to get traded. It's not money. It's how he's being used. He doesn't want to be used as a running back. He wants to be used just strictly as a wide receiver, which I think makes him a little bit worse. But again, if you don't want to get injured and you don't want to ruin your body, then it makes sense. And I think that's what he's looking at. But the biggest weapon on one of the better teams in the NFC is trying to get out of there, and that's going to kill their team if they don't have Debo. They're still a good team, and they can still run the ball and everything like that, but the emergence that he made last year made their offense a different team than they would have been without him, so that's a huge loss. If they do, again, they don't have to trade him, but if they do trade him, it's a huge loss. No matter what you get back, you're losing one of the better wide receivers, one of the better weapons in the NFL, kind of for nothing, to be honest.
If I'm being honest, I think it is for money. Now, through both angles, I think I think there could be a false report or just a front by Debo and his agent, and it is about money, and they just don't want to say it's about money because, I don't know, why would you, it doesn't make you seem like a great person if you really went out because of money, but when you really think about it, you really, as a wide receiver at 26 years old, how many contracts are you really getting? Big contracts. Unless you're going to be an all-time great, pretty much just one. Because he's 26 right now. So he's probably only getting one big contract. And he's clearly a fragile guy. And he is going to be better with the ball in his hands almost no matter what. So I do think the running back kind of like flex play style really does fit him well. But I also think if it is because of this, it is also because of money / obviously he does want to keep his body healthy. But if your body's getting torn apart, you're only getting one contract. And if the 49ers don't want to give you $20+ million a year, then you're losing out on a lot of money. Versus, let's say you get traded to the Jets and you're a pure wide receiver and you put up good numbers, and then you get another contract after that extension, and it works itself out. But so I do think it is about money. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, if the 49ers came out to him and said, hey, this contract right here makes you the highest paid wide receiver in the league, just above Devontae Adams, let's go. I have a feeling he says, all right, let's do it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have a feeling I'm not. So
yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying that makes him a bad person. It's probably, if I was in his place, I think it's probably what I would do too. I think it's probably what most people would do. So
yeah, ESPN reported that the Niners are willing to pay him, whatever money that he wants to get paid. So it really does seem like it's a, how they're using him type of situation, which again, like we're saying, it makes sense. Like if you're gonna get unnecessary, like you look at the life of a running back, like even if he's obviously not being full-time running back, if he's 30% of the time being used as a running back, like that's way more hits than you'd ever take as a wide receiver, and just running through tackles, running behind guys, getting the ball every single time, taking all those hits, like that's just a lot to take on a body. And again, it is a guy who in his first 2 years of being in the league was injured, so it's not this healthy guy that just is now concerned about his health. He's always been an injured guy. He just was healthy last year, and even still, I think he still had some like nagging injuries throughout the year last year too. So I understand what he's trying to do, and whatever team gets him, like I said, they're probably trading a first round pick, but like it could be a late first round pick, or it could maybe even be like 2 seconds, like something that's not a first round pick, but just a lot of draft capital, even something like that. But whatever team gets him, you have to be ecstatic. I think like teams that would be on the lookout would obviously be the Jets, obviously. A couple, you have to look at cap situations as well, because again, he is going to want to sign a new deal. So whatever teams have the most cap, but whatever team does get him, if the 49ers do trade him, you have to be ecstatic with that. You're getting one of the top players in the NFL. And he's yours. He's under contract. Everything's done with, and you could use him however you want then. So, but if he does get traded, that's just a huge loss for the Niners. It really is.
I personally also I don't buy the fact that I don't know. I do think it's about money. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Part of me doubts these reports though, and I don't think I'm like really that foolish to doubt reports. So we'll find out. I also don't think, listen, if I'm the 49ers, do I want 2 second-round picks or let's just, 2 seconds or 1 late first for Debo? No. So, I don't know. I wouldn't be against just saying, all right, if you don't want to play the way Coach Shanahan wants you to play, you just don't have to play at all. You don't have to show up at all. You can just sit this season, and you can be an unrestricted free agent next season, and we'll go with that. I wouldn't even think that's that foolish of a thing, because and this does hurt Debo if it truly is about, if I'm right and it is about money, I think that hurts Debo, because typically, the one that really comes to mind is Le'Veon Bell. Holds out for a year, signs a contract with the Jets, didn't get nearly as much money as he was expecting, and then also just completely fell off a cliff. Now, I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen to Debo, but if Debo holds out a year, he's also now gonna be 27. He turns 27 in January, so he's gonna be 27 and a half going into next season, and he's not going to have played for over a year, and he's a guy that has been injured more than he's been healthy. Who's paying him the money? You're also not going to get to play him the way you want to play him if this is true, if he's not going to run the ball. He's just not as good as wide receiver if he's not going to be willing to play in the place. I'm not blaming him necessarily. I think if that's what you want to play, it's what you want to play. But that also comes with some consequences when it comes to contract, when it comes to what teams want you, what leverage you have. So that's kind of my take, is I think Debo, I don't know. If I was in his place, I would not know what to do. But if I'm the 49ers, I'm not just trading him for a late first. I'm not. So
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that situation. Like we said, they don't have to trade him. They could make him just sit out, hold out, whatever, or he could just come back and play the season. But we'll see what happens. Again, voluntary, camp is starting, so guys who don't show up, want contracts. Guys who do show up, whatever they show up. But yeah, that's the biggest story right now in the NFL. And again, he maybe draft day gets traded. That's obviously a big, that could be a big factor as well. That on draft day he gets traded. But we'll see. We have about 5 more minutes. I guess maybe a couple more. We'll do a quick NBA, just kind of overview, quick recap of just what's happened so far. I think we'll start with injuries just quickly. So Luka seems to be on the way back. That series is 1-1. The Jazz
is over. Do you have anything quick to say? But I think it's over. It's already over.
Once Luka's back, I think it's over. The Jazz, if they won Game 2, I think it'd be definitely more of a question. But it's the Jazz. There's a reason why. Did you pick the Jazz or no?
No.
I picked the Jazz, but I didn't want to. I only picked them because Luka wasn't playing, and even then, I still didn't want to pick them because they just do Jazz things. They blow leads to Jalen Brunson and the rest of the Mavs when they should easily win that game. So the Jazz deserve to lose this series, and then when Luka comes back, obviously that's over. So Devin Booker is out 2 to 3 weeks with a hamstring pull. The Pelicans won Game 2. Even with Booker scoring 31 in the first half, they still won Game 2. I don't think the Pelicans will win, but I think they'll make it a lot harder than it would have been. No Booker. The Suns are a really good team. Again, the reason the Suns are so good is because the rest of their team is really good, but you lose Booker in the playoffs, that's a lot of scoring to lose. Chris Paul's going to have to step up. DeAndre Ayton's going to have to step up. Mikal Bridges is going to have to step up scoring-wise. That's a lot to ask for.
I agree. I think it's a huge loss because he's really your biggest source of offense. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And I don't trust any of the guys on the Suns to really step up offensively and carry the load themselves while Devin Booker is gone. Can they all split the load 33% and find a way to manage? Maybe. But are they going to manage it well? No. I don't trust Chris Paul. I don't really, at least not in a scoring way. He's not going to go drop 33 a game. He's not going to go pick up Devin Booker's points and do that himself. So I think they'll be fine, but I think it makes the Mavericks-Suns series very interesting. So
yes, I think it does with the Pelicans-Suns series.
No, I'm saying the next series.
Oh, the next series. Yeah, I think it will because again, 2 to 3 weeks. Let's say they win the Pelicans in 6 games, whatever. You'll probably miss a couple of those games against the Mavs. It could be Jazz, probably Mavs. That'd make that series a lot more interesting. I guess we'll go to the best series so far. Celtics-Nets. Game 1 was incredible. That was on Easter. That was a great game to watch. Game 2, the Nets kind of blew it, to be honest. KD's looked awful so far. Kyrie was great in Game 1, but he wasn't that good in Game 2. The Game 2 really wasn't that good of a game, but the Celtics came back and won. You have to be happy. You didn't pick the Celtics to win this series.
No, I had Nets in 7. Which I'm fine with. I'm totally fine taking the L on the prediction.
And look, I'm surprised that they're up 2-0. I really am. I thought the Nets would have won one of those games. They've gotten huge contributions from Dragic off the bench. That was totally unexpected. And again, the Celtics still don't have Rob Williams, but KD just hasn't been good. That's just the bottom line.
KD's been awful. I think Game 2 was a battle of the non-top 2 players on both teams. And I think probably the top 2 of the Celtics played a little bit better, and that maybe gave them a little edge. They also came back storming in the 4th. Grant Williams had a nice run, I believe, in the 3rd as well, just to keep them in the game. There was a few stretches where, I think there was at least a couple stretches where they were down by 14, and it was all right, if the Nets pull off a couple more baskets, it's pretty much game over. And I think Grant Williams went on an 11-0 run or something. He scored 11 straight points for the Celtics.
Yeah.
And that kind of brought them back in. I think they went back down another 14-point deficit. They dug themselves out of that. This is a resilient team. It's something I haven't been able to say about the Celtics and probably since before Kyrie got here or the year Kyrie was hurt. So it's been a while. I think Smart is looking tremendous, right? That left-handed layup to seal the game was a nice play. And honestly, I think seeing Jaylen Brown, Tatum, and Smart intertwine well is huge. I think that's kind of the key. There's been some sort of void there. I don't know what it was, but they've figured it out. I've wanted to trade Smart for a while because I didn't think that was repairable, and it's been repaired. So at least for now. So we'll see. If you're making me rechange my predictions, I'm not even going to answer that question, actually, now that I think about it, because I just don't want to answer it. So because I don't want to do any sort of funny business. So,
and
no
again,
jinxing anything.
a wrench being thrown in this series is maybe Ben Simmons coming back for game. Well, he is coming back for game 4, but will it be 3-0 or will it be 2-1? If it's 2-1, I think it could maybe make a difference. Again, he's not going to play that much. He's going to come off the bench. I mean, probably. But it's at least an impact. His defensive presence that like he can guard Tatum. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, if it's 3-0 at that point, I don't think it really matters. But if the Nets can win game 3, I think it maybe can make somewhat of a difference.
I think if it's 3-0, it can matter. Honestly, I don't listen, we've never seen a 3-0 comeback before in the NBA, but listen, I think if there's going to be a series like this could be the one. So I don't know. Am I picking it? No, but I'm not gonna say it's over when it's 3-0. Honestly, I'm not. So.
Just going through the other series quickly. We'll just say so. Grizzlies Timberwolves is series tied 1-1. Sixers Raptors, that's 3-0. It's unfortunate because we both like the Raptors. I think everyone liked the Raptors, but Scotty gets injured game 1. Gary Trent's injured. Like, they got a lot of injuries. They got, obviously, Embiid hits a game winner last night's game. Like, kind of unlucky. I don't think the Sixers have played great, but they played well enough to just win. But I think if the Raptors were healthy, I think it could maybe be a little bit different. But that's your.
I think if the Raptors are healthy, it's 2-1 right now. Probably.
Yeah, I think it's probably 2-1. 2-1 with game 4 at your home court. Again, no Matisse Thybulle. It's a difference. That's a winnable game, obviously. So that's 3-0. It's probably over. Bucks Bulls. Bulls beat the Bucks last night. That's 1-1. I think that's probably the only win they'll get. They played pretty good, I will say. The Bulls have played a lot better than I expected them to play. And Middleton's out. He sprained his MCL, so who knows how long he's out for, but he's out at least for a little bit. Maybe that changes that series. Maybe it goes 6 games now, but I think the Bucks still win that. And then just to kind of wrap up the other series, Nuggets Warriors, that's 2-0. I picked Nuggets. That was awful. They've looked terrible, to be honest. And then Heat Hawks, 2-0 Heat. Trae Young's been awful in that series so far.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple good series, a couple duds, but it's the first round of the NBA playoffs. What do you expect? But overall, I'm satisfied with the product. I think the Nets-Celtics series, obviously I'm a Celtics fan, so it's a little bit different, but I think that has just been an incredible series. It's 5, so I don't want to go any longer because Brandon's got stuff. But anyways, appreciate everybody sticking to the end. Feel free to check out everything in the description. A little bit of a revamp going on with everything. You're free to leave.
Yeah, we'll be doing a full NBA episode.
Probably pretty soon.
Yeah, soon. This was just a quick one just to get some stuff out, but we'll do a real
I've got some NBA takes in the freezer ready to throw in the microwave. So we'll be back in a bit. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.